Well, good morning, my friends. Furtado here, also known as the Rebel Turner. Today, I want to give you a walkthrough and show you how I have my camera set up. And it's a nice system if you want to incorporate it into your own shop. It's an easy do. I do have a video on the actual build on this, somewhat. It's not a great video, but it gives you some good idea of what was built. And what I'm going to do today is actually film it with my old camera and show you the components and see if it's something that you want to build for your own shop. Stick around. So here I am with the old camera, and what you're seeing is my new camera that I got for Christmas. It's a projection camera. I really don't need that feature, but anyway, here's the setup that I got. And I've been asked as to how I get the camera to show me directly overhead shots or from the back of the lathe. Well, here's how. The camera is set up on this shop-made boom. So I'm going to take you through the boom first. The arm that the camera sits on. First of all, it has a bolt going through here with a double nut so you don't have more than what you need projected out into the body camera. It's generally a 1/4 inch 20, I believe, thread bolt, typical, what you can pick up at Home Depot, and that's being used on the mounting screw on the base of the camera. On this setup, the camera is able to swivel in the directions. I'm able to tilt it on this splice right here, which has again a bolt going through this all the way up to here. That's where I got the nut and locked it in. So it swivels on that one bolt over there, and it goes on this action up and down with this bolt right here. The rail consists of this 6-inch arm with a cut in the front, can be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches roughly, with this all thread. 2 pieces make up this arm so it can tie in to a single unit going across. You could do it in reverse if you really wanted to, but I think that this system works out pretty well. At this point, the arm is capable of doing this, swinging in and out. That single arm goes through, and it goes to basically the same mechanism on this end. And it shoots through, and I have a counterweight on the far end of that arm, the long arm, just to offset it a little bit. Above that, I ended up putting that strip of hardwood on the top that looks like a bow, coming end to end, and that stabilizes the arm a little bit from shaking up and down, or at least getting it to stop the shaking a little bit sooner. But anyway, that arm goes through, and it's just like the first one. It's sandwiched in between another 2 pieces of wood that go up. When it goes up, I don't think I'm going to be able to get you a good detail on this. The lights are reflecting. I'll see what I can do. Okay. But when it goes up, it's got another small piece on the top, that sandwich and that's got a center bolt coming through from the plate of that carriage arm. And what that does is it allows it to swing this way, if you can see that. And it spins right on that axis over there. And also, I have a rail which I modified. Originally I had a skinny rail over there, but I stiffened it up by going with a 2x3 beam, going across, made that box, and that box travels back and forth. It's lubricated. It doesn't have to be too tight, because the swing really, that the should I say, the bounce that's created is not being created by that box. It's being created by the nature of the long arm and the swivel point that's up at the top. So this is my boom setup. Now this boom setup, I got a power plug right over there, and that's plugged in to an overhead light with the sprocket on it, allowing me to travel back and forth on that arm. And the power supply to the camera comes from there. I got it zip tied to the arm, and the wire comes down the back, and again it's zip tied in the area, and it's connected, so the camera is on full power, on AC power all the time. So that's my setup for a camera boom. Make sure that you you know, if you want to see the build on this boom, why don't you look back? I'll put a link to the video, and I apologize, it's in one of my earlier videos, and it was a prototype that I was building, so it jumps a little bit, but you'll have a good understanding. And I don't think I focused enough on certain details which I pretty much showed you on this particular video, which was the mechanism of how the arm moves. Now I have a secondary camera, and the secondary camera is going to be set up around this rotating arm that goes throughout all the station. And yes, this will go all the way from the beginning of my doorway to my sharpening station. It will reach my sharpening station, my scroll saw, my drill press, lathe, table saw section, band saw, as well as the radial arm saw. So wherever I need this camera to work, I can focus in just about any area that I need to focus in, no matter what I'm doing. So if I'm on a radial arm saw, I can get right in there and show close-ups. Wherever I'm doing, it will get pretty tight in there. If I need to get into the bandsaw area, let me see if I'm actually looking at it. The bandsaw area, where if I'm going from the front, or the back side. So it doesn't matter which side I want to focus on. You can see that I can get all the way up to there. And of course, here's my bandsaw blade. I had to look for it. Right over here, zoom right in onto what I'm cutting. Table saw, right over the top. Any angle that I want, from behind, from far away. So this boom allows me to go just about anywhere that I need to go with my with this setup. So right on my bandsaw, if I need to, my scroll saw that is, right onto the blade, and of course I can zoom in tight, whatever I need. And like I said, all the way up to my sharpening jig. So here's the setup for my camera. Boom. Now the second camera. So generally, when I'm recording my wood turning, this is the typical location that I have my camera on, and aiming right into it. But of course I can bring it down, and I can bring it right inside my, pretty much inside my work if I need to. I mean, that's pretty tight in there, and you can see right above. You know, this video will be going back and forth between the two filmings, but I can get pretty tight in there, and as I move the camera I can actually coordinate it in a way that I really don't have to do anything with the rotation of the camera. It pretty much keeps that angle that it's initially aimed at. So you can see that I can be just about anywhere with this arm, and the camera is still aiming at the original location, which is really nice depending on what I want to do. Now this is only 6 inches away from my piece, so that will give me a nice range of what I need to do. Now this swing back here allows me to put the camera in a way that it's filming where the film is laying straight across rather than something on an angle like that. So between the two swings that I got here, the up and down and the side to side, will coordinate exactly how I'm viewing the subject. So making sure that I'm not in some way tilted, yeah, like this. So I'm able to adjust it to coordinate it with both the X and the Y axis of the camera. Again, nice setup for boom. If you need something like this in your shop, this is a pretty good system. When you put this rail up, if you have a flat ceiling for instance, you have to put down those drops because you need this arm to be able to go up and down just as you do that one. And if you're limited with height, you know, you can make this arm a little bit shorter, just put a heavier weight on the back end to compensate for the length and the weight of the camera, so the arm is not dropping down all the time. I could modify this by putting some lead in it if I needed to, make a hole, put a couple of sinkers in there, and you know, I literally could make it heavy if I needed to to the back, or I could change it out and put something completely different. I thought wood because I have all wood. It's all made out of wood. You could make this out of aluminum rail, aluminum channel. You could do this multiple ways. As a matter of fact, if you did the top rail with 2 L channels on a piece of wood, you could just do that block with 2 grooves and slide it up nice. You could even put casters on it if you really wanted to. This camera sits right above, or will be sitting right above the lathe for dual shots, where I'm filming the front and the back of my material. And the way I have it set up on a light, one of those desk light brackets, slightly modified, and I can pull it down, and again it's plugged in, same system. I have the power cord coming up, and it's all zip tied so it stays, and the camera's always using it on the charger setup. And this arm, because it already has its own mechanism, what I don't have the swivel on this per se, so it's just between the arm, this piece right here, and the camera being able to swivel. The bolt that comes through and that mounts it onto the camera, I got about 3/8 of an inch projector out, and it's just a matter of putting the camera, mounting the camera on it. Just screwing it in. And this, the whole bolt, once it bottoms out, the whole bolt spins inside of its socket, but it has a little bit of friction to hold me up in whichever position I put the camera in, to some extent. That's to some extent. But because I have this as a down angle all the time, I really don't need it to stay on a straight location. So that camera will be filming down shots from the back, and of course I can zoom all the way in, zoom all the way out with it, and this one will be pretty much stationary to its location, and this one will probably be staying in that orientation most of the time. Well, anyway, that's it for the camera boom. It's a weekend and I want to turn something nice, so let's see what I go about and put on a lathe and turn for today's subject. Again, stick around, my friends.